Fear knocked at the door. Faith answered. There was no one there.
Why do you want to do this shit? So you can touch a bunch of strangers?
You really skeeve the human body, don't you?
You like this so much? Let me ask you a question. Why do pissing, shitting, and fucking all happen within a 2-inch radius?
Everybody asks that, Paulie. There's no answer for it.
They're all sources of pleasure, though.
Get the fuck out of here.
Everybody does ask it, but no one has an answer. Welcome, my friends, to Cut to Black, a Sopranos sit-down. My name is Jim Scampoli, and I've seen every episode of The Sopranos.
My name is Jacob Burrows, and I've seen 58 episodes of The Sopranos. And I will say that very clip I heard years before watching The Sopranos because it has been used for the intro of your show, Jim and Them. Am I wrong?
You are correct. That is one of my favorite little moments because there's like weird crosstalk. I love that, fear knocked at the door, faith answered, nobody was there. And then the whole pissing, shitting, and fucking. It's such a great scene. And Sopranos, as we point out many times before, is very funny.
Oh, absolutely. It needs a laugh track, and I keep saying it. It's a almost perfect show if only they had that laugh track. And I hope everyone knows I'm being ironic by now. If you've listened to 58 episodes, I don't actually think we should have a laugh track. But it would kind of prove a point that The Sopranos is extremely funny. Either way, this episode, Sentimental Education, who put this thing together, Jim?
This is written by Matthew Weiner, the creator of Mad Men. It's also directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who is director and also plays the role of Dr. Elliot Kupferberg, Dr. Melfi's therapist.
Interesting. I would not have pegged him for one of those types, but then aren't they all in this show? They all direct and write, don't they? Ugh.
Yeah. He directed The Last Picture Show, which is a famous movie I've heard of, but I've never seen.
Same here. So sorry, everybody. Right. So this is a very Tony Egg heavy episode. It does start with him. I was tweeted by someone, a dear listener. Thank you for tweeting me at Jacob Burrows on Twitter, asking why I call him Tony Egg. And I'm like, isn't it obvious? Like, if you had the opportunity to add egg to anyone's name, wouldn't you do it forever, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good callback. I know Uncle Junior calls him that once because he's confused, but still, we're talking about two Tonys here, so it is a good way to differentiate. You could call him Tony B, but Tony Egg will do.
Yes. So Tony Egg, he is doing his laundry collection or whatever he does, and the truck seems to get stolen, and he starts running after it, and he falls just on his own and scratches up his leg real bad. I kind of thought this would be me getting to flex my mob bones, and I'm gonna toss out whoever it is and beat the shit out of him, but no, he just falls and hurts himself real bad and has a real bad day at work as he has to come in and punch out, and he's been talking to the police for hours, and his boss is riding his ass and all this stuff.
And you know how dumb I am. Like at first I was like, oh, he left the truck on and it just it drove away.
Wow.
Because they don't like, because they don't bother showing who did it, which is fine. You don't need to. But for a split, I didn't think that the whole episode, obviously. But for a split second, I was like, oh, Tony Egg fucked up and his truck drove away on its own. But no, yeah.
Turned the corner.
Yeah, it gets stolen. And his Korean boss suspects him because he does have ties to Tony Soprano, and he does come from that world. And it is, like, as we see through this episode, and I know I'm pointing out what's kind of on the nose, but we see a couple of fish out of water, don't we?
Yes, we do. And yeah, he, like we've talked about all along, Tony Egg is like, he actually genuinely wants to rejoin society and do these productive things. He has been rehabilitated by the system. Yay, it works. But there's like something underneath that he can tap into that not everyone can. He's not exactly phased. Like if my boss pulled me aside, like, look, here's the gun I'm gonna shoot you with if you don't do your job, I'd be like, okay, cool. So I'm not gonna talk to HR about this, but just if I do, like, it would be a real thing. But obviously he doesn't give a shit. Like, he's got this danger in him, as we'll come to see, and he's not threatened by it. And I think Kim in some way respects that.
Yes, yeah. Then we see back at the old Sopranos homestead, the Tony Soprano homestead anyways, Tony and AJ in the morning. AJ's complaining about breakfast, being AJ. Tony's telling him, hey, you can go to the grocery store. I'll reimburse you. Just buy the stuff you like.
He does say at first that, like, just write it down, I'll have the girl get it, but that's not good enough either. So then it's like, well, you can get it and I'll reimburse you. Nah, that doesn't work either. And things get a bit heated from there.
Yeah, because he says something like, well, when am I supposed to have time to do that? Because, AJ's so busy. And Tony makes a crack like, oh, most of you are on the phone or, practicing that stink on your face. And then AJ makes a crack about dad coming home drunk all the time. And Tony does not like that, pulls him up out of the chair, throws him up against the wall. And then I do like AJ where he's like, one of these days I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And it's, just a typical father-son relationship, if you will.
Yeah. And it kind of puts me in mind of Tony's father and their relationship, because I feel like that would happen with Livia Soprano smoking in the background, or yelling in the background and smoking. It's like we get to see his unfiltered parenting style with Carmilla not around and both of them getting on each other's nerves and seeing how that goes. I mean, it didn't go great with Carmilla either, but it is obviously going worse, especially since after that he like pours out the cereal, and when AJ storms off, he's kind of like smiling about it. Like, it's not like he's like bothered by this interaction. He's kind of like, yeah, showed him, did some good parenting right there.
Then we see Carmilla getting ready to meet with AJ's advisor, but she's kind of, she wants to wear something nice. She wants to look good because we're in another Carmilla phase with another potential little suitor. And rewatching it here, I just put together that she picks the nice cleavage, like the cleavage shirt as she goes to meet Mr. What is it, Wegler? Mr. Wegler.
Yes. That didn't pop out to you because it's kind of centered in frame, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's kind of noticeable. But yeah, he called her in to talk about, we need to talk about this right away, this grade, crisis, but it's like kind of just to talk to you and talk about the offer of dinner or something, right?
Dinner date. I think Carmilla brings up that, are these teachers biased against AJ? Just making excuses. Like, we know we don't see a lot of AJ in school, but we know AJ in his home life, and he's not putting in work for school. There's no bias going on here.
Yeah, and I mean, he obviously did. He did cheat clearly, and it is interesting that Carmilla wouldn't like see that, because she, despite like giving AJ hell at home, she's still like, no, he worked hard on that, and anyone else who worked hard and suddenly improved, you'd give a gold star. Now you think he's a cheater?
Right. Yep.
But it's like, no, he's clearly cheated. Like, it's so obvious. But she also thinks cheating would be like a deadly sin, while they're kind of like, yeah, like lots of kids cheat. But anyway, they need to do this Lord of the Flies essay, and that's a thing that gets brought up early on here. But he breaks the formality of it by going around the desk and sort of leaning on it, looming over her, which we know she likes that kind of thing. And they talk about, it took them a while to decide what to wear for both of them. How nice. And
they're like little giddy kids beating each other, and it's all new and fresh and fun, especially for these I don't want to say elderly people, but they're older people. They're later in life here.
Middle-aged is fair, I'd say. Yeah. And he makes a crack about like, I don't think Tony would break my legs if he found out. It's like, Carmilla does not laugh at that, which is fun way to end the scene. And we move into a dinner parlor scene, which I like. Whenever one of these scenes starts, I'm like, where is this? What's going on? But this is where is this anyway?
I assume maybe it's potentially, maybe it's not at Tony Blundetto's place. It's either that or it's at Bobby's, because I think Bobby's sitting at the head of the table here, I believe.
Yes, I think it's probably Bobby, because even if he has to study, Tony wouldn't like leave the table if it was his house, I think.
True.
And it kind of reminds me of Bobby's place. And wait, whose picture is that on the wall? I don't know who's.
We'll just go with that. It's Bobby's place.
Yeah,
and then we
meet his studying in that anyway.
Yeah, we meet Tony B's girlfriend. I guess she responded to an ad he placed from jail. He's studying for his massage therapist test. The whole thing with him having a girlfriend, it is kind of reminiscent of like, you'll never know that they snuck out his sperm, or
Yes.
I placed an ad from jail and she responded. I mean, it is a real thing that happens though, so good for him. He has kind of like a quick back and forth with Christopher here, and Christopher's kind of extolling the advice he's gotten from the program. He says something along the lines of like, the people that judge you are the ones that feel less about themselves, something or other, or that
I
don't.
love that. I love the contrast because he comes in like, "Oh, they let you post an ad," and he's like, "Yeah, they let you post an ad." He's like, "I gotta read some of that shit. I bet it's hysterical."
Oh,
And Tony's just like, Tony's such a patient man. Tony X,
That's right.
And then he gets to say like other people's definitions of you. They're more about making themselves feel better after just having said that, which was great.
So yeah, he's getting ready, like he's studying, blah blah blah. And then Carmela has dinner with Father Phil. Father Phil and Scola.
Sorry, I have to say that Christopher ends the scene with saying, I think he says, "Gotta keep the eye on the tiger."
Yeah.
Which I think is a reference to Eye of the Tiger, Rocky
Right.
and all that. But I just love that. I love whenever they get something slightly wrong.
Yeah, and they just kind of slide it in there. Like they don't bring attention to it. It's not like someone corrects them or they call it out. They just kind of let it sit, which is great.
Yes. And like you were saying, there's a dinner then with our good Holy Father and Carmilla. And what a fun and not awkward affair at all.
Yeah, and his weird like jealousy is kind of coming to head here, where what he's trying to remind her of, like the promise you made in front of God to be faithful to Tony, and it's like it's not his place at this point. What he's saying, yes, religiously it makes sense, but he knows their relationship, and plus they are separated, so he's just being Father Phil. Like he's the worst priest. Or not, maybe not the worst priest. Of course, there are worse, but he's up there.
He's a bad one. Like they have the whole thing, and then he's like, "If we really want to discuss this, I think we should include Tony in the conversation as well." Which is like, "Oh, that's not the conversation that I thought we were having." But yeah, he doesn't approve. And I mean, another great ending of a scene with just like the pepper. Like he calls him over and like he grinds the pepper, and then it's like, "Say when, senor," or whatever, and then it just keeps going to the end of the scene.
Then Tony Egg, he's studying at his job, and his boss notices that, calls him into his office, and he sees he's a hard worker, like just like him, and he sees an opportunity, maybe he wants to partner up, get a place going for this massage therapist and work with his daughter. So things are kind of on the come up. This hard work could be paying off here.
Yeah, everything's coming up Egg.
Yeah.
But like at this point I'm excited about this, and I kind of know that I shouldn't be, but like I'm kind of like, yeah, you're gonna get your dreams. It's all gonna work out for Tony. And the fact that he, like, in one scene we saw Kim earlier and be a dick, and then we see this turn sort of thing, and like I believe it. And Kim is a great character as well, obviously, and I just love the turn from like him being disgruntled to have to talk to him in the office and like suspicious about the whole thing, and like, why would you want to do that? And like, actually this all kind of makes sense, and we would do something together. And as he says later, like, these Korean people, they're obsessed with like starting your own thing and building it up, and I can be part of that and all of that. And I don't know, it's a great idea, and I'm like excited about it, and I know I shouldn't be, and I love like the look on his face because we know he's wanted this, and it's just a great scene.
Yeah, I agree. And then we see that even though Tony is obviously putting more muscle into like his parenting style, and as we saw, throwing AJ up against the wall, and then other times being a little tougher on him, he still can't really handle it, because now they're back at Carmilla's place, and AJ wants to move home. Tony wants him to move home, and Carmilla has some non-negotiables. Schoolwork, no cursing at her. Very, very reasonable, rational things here.
Yeah, and you got to include me in your life a little, which I think it's such a nice thing to add in, also because I think obviously AJ deep down wants that. He's just really bad at communicating with his parents, like most teenagers are, and he's also been around Tony, where like he probably misses the softer aspects of Carmilla as well, and her showing some interest in things and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, fine, whatever. And then Tony gets to go like, yeah, we played that just right.
Yeah.
I toughened him up for you. Don't worry. Like,
Yeah. I think I think the time with me helped. So yeah, no, yeah,
uh-huh.
kind of.
In a way, in a weird way. And yeah, that's basically it. She doesn't give him anything though. She just kind of blanks him completely.
Yeah.
She's not yelling or anything. It's just at this point I'm like, Carmilla's a genius because she knew exactly that this would happen and how it would happen, and it was played out perfectly by her, not by you, Tony.
Yeah, then we have kind of part of the scene we heard at the top of the show here. Tony Egg is studying at Satrielli's. They're kind of helping him with the flashcards. Piss and shit and fucking all happens within a 2-inch radius. And wait, what do I have here? I have a note here. Tony B's under pressure. Remember Pearl Harbor. I forget what the line is there because I actually watched this one like over a week ago. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the pressure thing, but well, he's under pressure in that he's got to pass this test and he's practicing for it and all of that, and he can't guess bicep or he's forgetting stuff because he's stressed. But yeah, I think that's. I'm sure that's Paulie's line. Remember Pearl Harbor, which is
that's
obviously
right, yeah.
hilarious because those were the Japanese. Different country. They also oppressed the Koreans for a long time. So anyway, great line. I'm sure Paulie wouldn't care if I told him that.
Yeah, it was the plot line. That's right. Yeah. Then we have Carmilla after her date. And is this where she gets what, Madame Bovary here?
Yes, exactly. They get in the car and he kind of leans back and grabs a book for her. And I felt like earlier, I think they already talked about the book, right? And she was like, "Oh, it's too heavy for me," or something. And he says, "Oh, that's why I like you. That you don't, you're unpretentious and you say what you think." Maybe that's this scene. I kind of got it mixed up. But either way, I feel like he shows the lie in what he's saying because he says like, "Oh, I don't care that you don't care about the same stuff as me, but I'm gonna like keep giving you this book that you already read and like don't like." Because I like it and I want you to like absorb my opinions. Like, I think that's more the thing. Like, I see you as a not necessarily a fool, but a blank cultural slate, and I want to fill you up with these good books and such, which isn't negative in itself, but the fact that she's not having any fun doing it should indicate that he should maybe not do that.
Yeah, and Sentimental Education is also a book written by Gustave Flaubert, or however you say it.
Okay.
The author of Madame Bovary. Yeah, because this whole relationship as it plays out, there's this like superiority he's getting from being the intellectual here, and he does think it's like quaint, her thoughts on literature and whatever. But then of course there's this whole thing with Carmilla and her like I do feel like she is attracted to this man and she does want a relationship outside of Tony, but she's also has this sinister motives of like trying to help AJ, and like that kind of we see that play out through the episode. So it's a really bizarre back and forth between them.
Yeah, and to touch on the book since they're talking about it, he says, or she says that nothing happens in the book, and he says that on the outside nothing happens, but inside she has these extremes of exhilaration and depression or whatever, which kind of does relate to Carmilla, like her not moving a lot in the past few seasons.
Yeah.
And, like her like feeling a lot but not moving anywhere, and now she is moving somewhere, and that's scary. Anyway, he wraps it up by saying that she should read it again, which is like, fuck off, I already read this boring book for you, dude. But yeah, and she says, "What a wonderful thing to have in a den," which is which is a great line as well. A great response to that. Anyway, they fuck.
Yeah, they do. She finally gets it on with someone outside of Tony. The payoff, finally, after season of her pining over other men, and getting sexual gratification from someone else, we end up with Mr. Wegler, her fucking son's advisor, and then there's
choice.
Another book, because then when she gets up and goes in the bathroom, it's what letters of Abelard, the letters of Abelard and Heloise. Or I forget if I'm pronouncing it the way Carmela pronounces it or the exact way you're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. And he gets to give a synopsis that it's about people, as a teacher who fell in love with their student, like which it would be a worrying thing if like your son's teacher had that kind of, but not really, but kind of. And yeah, it's a 12th century scholar falling in love with his underage student, and gets her pregnant. And
yeah, the passionate letters between a monk and a nun.
Yeah, because they both have to become very religious because they sinned. Anyway, she goes home at the end and looks at a picture of Tony and gets a gun and puts it under her pillow. Very subtle stuff going on here with the writing, am I right?
Yeah, well, and also it should be called out that the picture she looks at, it's the same picture that AJ was studying after he first started learning about who his dad is. It's like him and AJ like fishing or something like that. And it's like kind of the same shots because it shows like the picture and then it zooms in and you get right on Tony's like smiling face. So a nice little callback there.
Reminds you of the picture with the horse as well, like the painting, going slowly in on that. And then even when he's painted over, he's still got that face that makes Paulie want to go get a gun, kind of. So Tony Egg does the test on the computer about all these different muscles and such, and he finds out in a very undramatic way that he's passed. And congratulations. And you did it, baby. And what a fantastic day for both of you. And it only gets better later, of course.
Yeah, and he's completely surprised. I mean, I guess he just didn't expect that he would. But yeah, he's board certified, all the hard work. I mean, things are starting to pay off. And I mean, as we see through this episode, and I want to call out one of the lines from the Sopranos Sessions book when they're talking about this episode. David Chase likes to say that contrary to critical consensus, The Sopranos isn't a show about how people don't change or that they can't change. It's David Chase's view that personal change isn't impossible, but it's rare and incredibly difficult, particularly in a culture that rewards inertia and selfishness like the mafia. So, I mean, obviously that's like a big thing with this episode because, both Tony and Carmela are kind of facing change and like different environments in a way. Yeah. But even if they want to like blame outside sources, it's kind of like the piece of themselves is like dragging them back to who they are in a way, I guess.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, which is sad. Like, I've never even thought of that aspect, that it's a show about, people not changing. That would not have been my first thought either, but I think that's a really interesting read on it because, and also what you said about it, like a piece of them dragging them back to what they actually are, but then could be better than. Anyway, Carmilla goes to confession. Now, this is where I start to blame Carmilla for this because first scene, it's like, yeah, she's excited, cool. But then it's like, you already know he's going to tell you not to do this. And maybe she wants someone to say that or whatever. But she comes in and talks about how she did this and she's going to do it again. And he's like, well, I can't like absolve you if you say you're going to do it again. And she's like, yeah, but it's so cool though. And he's so hot and like all that stuff.
Yeah. And but also it's like, I mean, I guess I'm trying to give Carmilla more credit. Like, she must understand what Father Phil's doing here. Like, he's not just coming at it from the point of view of just a priest in confession. Like, they have this personal relationship that still kind of keeps coming up, and it really blurs the lines in a weird way. But yeah, what are you gonna do? That's the church for you. That's a nice little comment on the church.
Yeah, I mean, she gets to have some girl talk about it later, which is probably what she should have done initially, but she is quite religious. It's just sad that she doesn't have a therapist to go to talk about this, which is what she actually needs. Instead, she gets this, God stuff. And he tells her to do something nice for Tony and pray for him or whatever.
And I do want to call a quick line I read. Yeah, director Peter Bogdanovich, Elliot, as we know, he does note that the composition of this scene is to underscore that Carmilla is entrapped by the Catholic doctrine. So there's a little call out for you.
Makes sense to me. So the next scene, we get to see the whole place that's going to turn into a massage parlor. And this is when I know it's not going to go well, like because there is potential. I mean, there is potential in this space. There's just something about seeing it and seeing that him going around saying, "We're going to do this here, we're going to do that here." That's when you know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a funny line where Chris comes in and says that there's a like dog kennels or something next door in case someone gets hungry, a nice little Asian jab. And then they have to make comments on, Kim's daughter is like a young, attractive woman. But yeah, a lot of potential. Like, oh, what a great happy ending that he's setting up for Tony B here.
Yeah. I think Tony does the dog eating comment first, and then Christopher comes in and does it in front of the girl as well, because everyone's going to do that, because that's who they are. Tony Tony Egg tries to bring up how, Tony Soprano is disappointed and all in him going civilian, and Tony just kind of blank faces him on that. And we know that's true, but I think he's kind of over it. I think he is glad to see him in this space, which is another reason that it's like hurts that he can't do it. But anyway, Tony promises to get the koi fish. And I mean, yeah, like you said, there's even a hot young secretary girl, and this is going to be so brilliant, but well, you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. Then we have Rosalie and Carmilla. They're dishing on this relationship. AJ comes home, makes some homophobic statements about his teacher. It is weird, like they have these I guess because Tony makes the remarks too, and I think there have been the remarks in the past, and I think when Tony brought up the poppers and weird sex, didn't he relate that to Wegler as well?
I think so, probably.
So yeah, I mean, obviously they're making a statement on casual homophobia, and because AJ says his faggy hand was on me, maybe he's a big homo or something like that. But then they have a sweet moment that brings Rosalie to tears because she's remembering good old Jackie Jr. And her son that she lost.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tony comes in, I think, and sorry, that's another scene. But he just says the exact same thing about about Mr. Wegler.
And not that it matters, but I feel like maybe she says the N-word, but they overdubbed it in this scene, because when Rosalie kind of cries, and then Carmilla hugs her and she's talking about her Jackie, and she says something about those jigs, but it feels like it's dropped in, like the audio sounds weird.
She says chinks.
No, I think the subtitles say that, but I don't think she says that. Well,
let me listen to it right now. See if you can find it.
Yeah, let me. I think I got it.
You're right. It sounds a bit weird. It does sound a bit weird. Sorry about the silence there, everyone. We just got to pull this up for your audio analysis at home.
Where's my jacket?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, honey. I never fucked those goddamn chicks who killed him.
Yeah, see, it's definitely a drop in. And if you look, I feel like maybe she was saying the N-word, which maybe they're like, that's a bit much. Kind of feel for this character here, so maybe we should take that out.
Could be. I'm just watching it now as well to watch the lips. Give me a sec. That's a bit strange, yeah. It didn't pop out to me, to be honest, Jim.
No, it didn't pop up to me for whatever reason. I was skimming through the episode before we watched it, and I happened to just drop on this scene. I didn't notice it when I first watched it. I noticed it quickly before we started the show.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't matter. I just thought it was weird. But then we have kind of tying back to that quote I was talking about with David Chase, when he's talking about how people, like, kind of the shows about how hard it is to have real personal change, because this thing that happens where Tony B finds the bag of money, I mean, Sopranos is really good at really towing the line and kind of running the line of something that could be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But since it serves a point and serves a purpose, it works. And it is kind of like the weird hand of God. And I think even Bogdanovich notes that it's shot from high up when the car zips by and throws the money out, because it is kind of like they're addressing that it is almost like a deus ex machina here that happens, because it just happens to find a bag of money, but it brings out the true Tony B in a weird way. So I think it still works. But even though, like, on paper, if someone's like, okay, then in the next episode, Tony B finds a bag of money and it leads him down a dark path, and I'm like, oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense to shoot it from above, hand to God, all that. The way they shot it, I missed the bag. Maybe it was because I had subtitles on as well, and it's not like super dominant in the shot. But then they're talking about, oh, the garbage is right there. I just thought they were driving crazy. Obviously, I picked it up. They pick it up, and I'm like, I get what's going on. I just didn't see it at first. But yeah, they toss away the drugs, keep the money, of course, like you do. Would you do the same in this situation, Jim?
Yeah. I don't need the drugs. Maybe I'll sell them, get more money.
Yeah, but if you get caught, like if you get stopped on by the cops, like because there are cops around, it makes sense. Yeah,
All
hey,
right.
no law against walking around with cash. Am I right? 10
That's
grand,
true.
12 grand.
You're thinking, man. I need you on my side when I find a bag of money and drugs. I do love his reaction because she says something about the drugs and he's like, toss it away. He's like, there, you happy?
Yes, exactly. And he says he's gonna buy her a ring, and she says he should reinvest it like in the business and that. Do you think if this hadn't happened, he would have been fine and running that whole sort of business forever, or what do you think?
Nah, I mean, maybe the only reason why maybe he would have been fine is because it would have had more time for things to gradually set in place. But it does feel like maybe this just rushed the inevitable, and it was inevitably going to be bad. It's just rough because her recommendation put it in the business because as we see things start to come out because he is out late drinking and doing that. It's hard enough. He's juggling a day job and doing all this work by himself to build up this place when all he would have had to do is use that money to hire some people to do it for him, and it would have maybe been great. But yeah, it doesn't work out so well in the end.
Yeah, could have easily found some guys through his connections and all with Tony, whatever, to do the work for him. But he doesn't. He needs to get new shoes and drinks with the girls with their tits out. So, good times all around. And let's see, what else do we have going on? Of course, Carmilla's trying to get AJ to write this essay. In a quick scene there, he's literally falling asleep there. So we see that he's not putting the work in as much. And Carmilla also gets another fun scene, just kind of having dinner again, like playfully putting, I don't know, ice cream or whatever all over his face. Real fun, sweet stuff here.
Yeah. Because that's intercut with, as we already mentioned, we see Tony B out living life with his newfound money. And then because then we get to the scene after. Yeah, they have their playful dinner. And then Carmilla is just kind of looking out the window like she's in this honeymoon phase with this new beau and things are good. But then Tony shows up in classic Tony. He brings some stuff over and they're going over what the paper that he potentially bought or whatever. And I think Tony does make some homophobic remarks as well. That's showing that AJ is his father's son. My favorite part of this, though, is just the fact that like the scene starts with her kind of just looking out the window at a beautiful day, and then it ends with disgusting Tony now in her view, like because they're really good at like making Tony gross around Carmilla. I feel he's just talking and he just starts taking his clothes off and he's in his boxers. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's just like, "I'm going for a swim." And now her whole like nice idealized life that moment I should say that she's having is completely ruined by Tony Soprano.
That's a great point. I mean, he Wegler also calls and dirty talks her, kind of like, "What are you wearing?" and all when she's saying that she can't talk right now, and it is really absurd when he suddenly is taking his clothes off because just a few episodes ago it would have been like kind of too tense, and obviously it's still too tense. She's yelling at him about it, but he's very much showing like, "No, this is my house still. You get to live here, but whatever." And goes out for a swim, and I mean, hey, if the pool's filled up, someone's got to use it.
Yeah, he loves that pool. Plus, and you know what I didn't even notice before, but I was kind of skimming through the scene. He goes in the fridge and he takes out her leftovers, assumingly from the date that they had. I didn't even pick that up initially.
Yeah, he even says like, "Since when do you eat duck?"
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think this all plays out perfect. We kind of get what's going on. Then we see Tony B. Now he's got a nice new suit. He's got new shoes. They're hanging out at the casino, their underground casino they always go to. So it is like this life it's pulling him back in. And I guess to your point of like, would things have worked perfectly otherwise? I guess eventually, even if he built that business up and finally did have his own money, he would have been he would be doing this same shit, right? Like, it's almost like he was working hard because he didn't have anything. He didn't have the means to go and buy dumb suits and go to the casino, even though he's still hanging out with these same people. But now you get a taste of it. It's like, oh, why am I putting in all this work when I don't need to?
Yeah, I feel like if he accepted the koi fish, and after the koi fish came the great deal on towels, like it's gonna be the next mob hangout in his place, and then he's gonna be part of it a little bit more, and Tony's gonna give him some money, and he's gonna start doing coke. Like it probably would have gone this way anyway. It's just he's the only character whose change I actually believed in. Yeah. Well, in this sort of sense, in their reform or whatever, like it actually made sense, and it was fun to see him do something different. But yeah. So we get the next scene with Carmilla and her lover, and she's way too focused still on, the whole situation with AJ and keeps talking about that. Now, as he throws in her face earlier, later, he says this is all exploitation. He thinks she's using her pussy as a weapon, her vagina and such. But I mean, whether it's maybe subconscious, I don't think so. Like I think she's genuinely this like obsessed with her son and his grades and everything, right? Or what are you reading from this?
I think it's a little of both. I think she knows what she's doing. Because I mean, if we jump ahead a little, because it ends with her doing like a "woe is me," and she calls him a wolf in sheep's clothing to her father, because her father's like fixing her door at the end, and he's like, if you had a man around the house, I wouldn't have to come do this. And she's being sad Carmilla, like we've seen a few times where she's just in bed, her eyes are all puffy from crying, and she's wrapped in like a blanket burrito. But I don't think Carmilla is that innocent here. I think she maybe it is. It's not premeditated, but she understands what she's doing because she withholds sex to kind of get what she wants, and then she uses it as a reward. So I think he kind of has a point here, and I guess it's the whole thing of she doesn't want to face that. People in general don't want to face the bad things about them and the bad things they do, maybe unknowingly. But
yeah,
I don't think she's that innocent here.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, it is what she does, but I did read her as innocent in this regard, in that she's just, that's who she is, and she would keep worrying about this, and then once that is enough to get her not in the mood, she also throws in that in the eyes of God, she's still married, and, like, that would be bullshit if she hadn't talked to the priest twice and had that planted in her brain, but, like, I actually do believe her here, even though, yeah, it's a bit woe is me at the end, maybe a bit, like, she actually did these things as well, so who knows, but anyway, it does lead to Wendell. Is that his name? Yeah, he goes and talks. Wegler goes and talks to this teacher, who I do love that the end of the scene is like, what? So you kind of are prejudiced against him a little bit, kind of, right? Yeah. So that's was fun. True.
Yeah, and in a very like almost mafia type way, the way he kind of like leans on him a bit, to get him to bump his grade up. He's been working hard or whatever, he needs a little reward. But yeah, the other guy is kind of like, hey, fuck this kid. He's a privileged piece of shit. Go screw. Yes. I mean, he does have a point, but also you are a teacher, so it's your job to help fix that.
Yeah, it's not like he's asking him to give him an A, though. And I mean, he is, like, everyone's right. AJ's not good at this stuff, but I also feel that like, if someone's a football player, as far as I understand from movies and television, you get raised up 1,000 times more than this, and nothing you do matters academically. And he did. Well, I was about to say he tried, but he did cheat twice, so I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, he was sleeping when Carmilla was trying to help him study as well.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's not doing a great job of it.
But it's just complicated. It is a little of both. Like, it doesn't matter. The teacher shouldn't be giving up on a student, no matter what. That's your job. Speaking of your job, we have Tony B having to deal with punching a clock while he's stayed up all. How you expect him to do deliveries when he's been up all night drinking and gambling and doing whatever? Yeah. And then he's putting together the spot. He's got some presents for the twins They get some
Mhm.
Game Boy Colors, I believe, or
Game
Boy
Boy
Advance.
Advance, my
Oh,
dude. I
nice.
never got one. Where's the Tony Egg in my life?
Yeah.
Letting me smash down walls and such. Um, yeah, so he tells him to go study on the floor because there's no chairs. But they have a nice moment where they're like, "Whoa, cool! He's breaking the thing, and he's got cool tattoos, and he's our dad." And he's like, "Come on, let's do it. Let's do this thing
Yeah.
together." It's kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah, I agree. Then Carmilla rushes over to Wegler and gives him what he needs, gives him that good vagina.
Right.
You need the what is it? You need a good girl, but you need the bad pussy from Game of Thrones. Is that the line?
I don't know, Jim. You tell me.
It was the
They're
sand.
I guess so. They are very sweaty afterwards. Like they've been sprayed with a spray bottle before this scene, and they're lying there staring up at the ceiling. Um, but
And then,
yeah, he.
and like looking at it, and Carmilla's like bewilderment at her, like what he's saying.
Mhm.
I feel like she's just. I'm not trying to bag on Carmilla because I'm mostly on her side. Like again, I feel like Tony is gross around her, and she's disgusted by him, and rightfully so. But I think one of the reasons why, although maybe it was a thing that people hated Carmilla, like in the same way that they hate like Skylar on Breaking Bad, or even what was one of the other ones? One of those, I guess. Fucking what's Madman's wife there?
Good question. I
Draper,
haven't watched.
whatever.
It's Betty. Betty Draper.
Betty Draper. But I feel like Carmilla's played a little bit different than that, where she does have a lot of faults as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't think this is premeditated. I don't think this is the plan, but I think it's just part of who she is, and it ties into again with like, yeah, she hates Tony, but she loves the lifestyle, and she does want the nice things and all the money and the
Yeah,
things
that's
that
true.
come along with the bad stuff. So
You're
she's just
right.
innocent here.
I believe that because like she gets some extra help here, but then again, he is already AJ's like guidance counselor, or I maybe no, he isn't. What the fuck is he? Like a college admissions
He's
advisor or
like an
something?
yeah, yep.
That's exactly his job to do the things she's asking. But then I also understand that it's a bit of a mood killer when she's like, maybe you can bring up the fact that he has ADD because it doesn't have the stigma it once had right after. Like he does try to make conversation, like, have you ever been to the Caribbean or whatever? And then she brings this up, and he's like, Jesus Christ, goes to the. I thought he was gonna go to the bathroom and sit down and read, like to be
Yeah.
away from the whole situation. But it gets worse than that. She's there eating her chocolate and that. She is, having her cake and eating it too in a way.
Yeah.
And he just comes out and talks about how they should have a timeout, and he wants to poke his eyes out with knitting needles when he thinks about putting the hand on this teacher and that. So yeah,
Well,
it all kind of gets pretty wild from there. He kind of stares into space, but like he obviously goes too far and says that like he basically says she's the devil. So
Yeah,
so
no, I
you,
agree.
you got to
It's the
stay on her
whole
side for that one.
he does it in a way like he does it in his pretentious way, and yeah, where like what is it? Your pussy's a weapon. Yeah, strong arm me using your pussy, and it's like all right, but it is great that because if he just kept it at like I think you're a user, Carmilla, which she kind of is, but
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to confront that if you are. But I do love that she, gets pissed and says, you better watch your step.
Yeah.
She's not. She is Carmilla Soprano at the end of the day, just the same way that Tony Egg is Tony Blundetto. So, I guess a leopard can't change their spots.
Exactly. So we do get into Tony Egg, the last sort of sequence for him to sort of push him over the edge where he loses money playing cards. And if I've learned anything from The Sopranos is like never play cards. Like it never works out for anyone. Like, and
Never.
I already don't, but like he blew the whole 12 grand. Not really. He has 400 left. He's a smart guy. I do believe he would never sink himself into the kind of hole that other characters might have, like, oh, he owes the house this much. But like,
Yeah.
he likes having this money. He likes spending money. And then it's like, okay, that's over now. And he goes back to work. And then he goes to the place and he's painting it. And yeah, he has a call with his girl who, what are they even fighting about? Something about they delivered the massage tables to his place instead of the
Yeah,
the
instead of
business.
the business. Yeah. And then like, because it's interesting because every other time we see them together, because it's not like I don't think we've ever seen this character before. It's all nice and nice, but then here they're like really arguing, and she's like, "Oh, like you're like she's geeking out, like sick of hearing all his bullshit." And I think he just hangs up on her or something while she's yelling. But even before that, when he has to work and his feet are slippering on the steps because he's wearing these like fucking alligator shoes or whatever the hell he bought with his money. And then what? Then Mr. Kim comes, and then things come to a head.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the fact that we get to see what he's been doing, we don't need to see the growing tension of between them. Like, she can yell about his gambling and complaining and everything, and that's like we get it because we've seen those parts of it, so we know that's going on. And like you said, he hangs up when Kim walks in, and
he starts correcting his language, like, because he starts making fun of his accent at first because he's getting annoyed, and starts kind of mocking him a bit. But even Kim's still like, you know what, we're partners. And then what? I think he punches him or something, right?
Yeah, and it's like it works so much better than if this episode had been like remove the massage thing and just have him work at this place. And his boss Kim is such a hard ass, and in the end he punches him, and it's like, yeah, punch that hard ass boss. You're a cool guy. Go out and become a mobster again. We're on your side. And here it's like, you have what you need, and this guy is actually not a bad guy. He's being kind of great to you, even though he obviously wants his piece of it, and it's for his daughter and whatever. And maybe he's like, I don't know, he feels like he's being condescended to, but because he's still carrying the baggage from before, but he's being the worst kind of dick in response to that. So yeah, it really kind of hurts me when he when he punches him. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And then he says like that he's over there busting his ass, and like, then you're gonna say we're partners even though I'm doing all the work and your laundry all day and everything. And yeah, just he punches him into the pond, like the fountain, and grabs a piece of wood, and he kind of karates him a little bit. Like,
he fights back. Yeah, he blocks it, and then gives him like a kind of a it's like kind of like a kung fu move almost. But he does come back and hits him with the 2x4. And it really is like, because this episode doesn't have a ton of mafia stuff really, but it is so Sopranos that it comes to this ahead here where they're fighting in this built up massage parlor place that they're trying to build. And it's in the koi pond. And I mean, Kim gets beat up, but he gives a little back.
Yeah.
But he still takes a 2x4 to the head. Tony B kind of hurts his back, beating him up. And then we have the old fish out of the water on the floor dying because, the death of a dream. Let's gotta go back to who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of him painting the walls of Better Call Saul, how they're always, like, for seasons, painting the walls different ways, and it's never gonna work. Yeah, beats the shit out of him, basically, in the end, and it's sad, but we have two quick scenes to wrap up. The one you mentioned from before with Carmilla and her dad, who when I watched it anyway, I was completely with Carmilla, and I was like, at least put your hand on her shoulder and go like, there, you'll find someone, and then stroll out. But he literally just goes, well, and leaves when she's like super depressed.
Yeah, that's true. That is, and just the fact saying she needs a man around the house, like that, he is being rough to her, but I can't help but be kind of like, Carmilla's also doing a little bit too much of a woe is me here, because it's like you don't want to face your own, negative, the negative parts of yourself. It's easier to put it on someone else.
Yeah, and he, she says that because she married Tony Soprano, her motives will always be called into question, and he doesn't deny it. He's just like, well, and then he leaves. So yeah, kind of true. Final scene: Tony Egg shows up in his nice suit now and has a seat with Tony, and he asks to get back in. How does Tony feel about this, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the line is what? It's hard doing business with strangers. So it's hard to read this here because, I mean, it's what he's kind of wanted this whole time. And I guess like Tony's thing was always he wanted to kind of take care of him because he has this feeling of like we saw in the Band of Brothers clip he was watching. This is kind of the guy that went over the hill for him and maybe took the bullet that could have been his. But it doesn't seem like this big elation, but it also is kind of, things are falling into place, I guess.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I think he's happy about it. I was kind of like thinking maybe a very Tony thing to do would be to act like a jilted lover, like give him a bit of a hard like transition back into it. Not because he wants him to stay a civilian, but just because you said no to this, so now I wasn't good enough for you. You thought I was some kind of criminal, and now you want to be a criminal. But I think he does like Tony too much to do that, so I think it's going to be a smooth transition.
Yeah. I mean, he does give him a little smile, a little smirking smile as it fades to black. So,
yes.
It can only be good things from here, I imagine.
Oh yeah, this is all going to work out for everyone involved. If you have any theories in regards to how well it's going to work out, please do feel free to send them to showswhatyouknowshow@gmail.com. You can, of course, also give us some thoughts in a review on iTunes. Would be much appreciated. And besides that, you can check out jimandthem.com for more from Jim. He plays clips at the start of shows. Sometimes they're from The Sopranos.
Oh, great.
And there's also awesomepedia.org for all of my projects. Is there anything else, Jim?
Well, there is one more thing.
Oh, what's that?
Cut to black.